Hello, everybody. Second semester is officially in full swing, and so is the second half of the season for the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team. Coming up this weekend for the Bobcats are two home games against a new program in Arizona State. So I'm now joined by Matt Layman, an ASU men's hockey reporter for State Press Sports. Matt, thanks for talking with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so Quinnipiac faced off against ASU last season and won 5-0, but I think we can both agree that these two teams are completely different this season. I know personally Quinnipiac is 13-10, only had 4 losses last season. I don't see them making a Frozen Four run like they did last year in Arizona State, even though it's only their second season as a program. Definitely some improvements. So what do you think is going to be different this time around between this matchup?
Yeah, that's been really a theme all season for ASU, which is that they're just a totally different team than they were last season. I didn't cover them too much last year, but I did from time to time. I did see some of their games, and coming into this season, when I saw them play this year, just a game or two in, I could already tell that they were a totally different squad, and they came out, they lost 9-2 on opening night at Notre Dame. So you look at that scoreboard and you think, oh, it's going to be another long season. But when you kind of the eye test, when you watch them play, you can see they move the puck well. They play a lot smarter. They're more talented than they were last year. They got a lot of new players this year that they didn't have before. So all around, there's it's really a new roster. But they're also a smarter, more experienced team, and they just really are able to score much better than they did before too. They put up a lot more goals this year than they did last year against NCAA teams.
And then looking at ASU's schedule, they don't have it easy. 17 of their games have been against top 20 opponents. Boston College, Notre Dame, Northeastern, Harvard, the list goes on. But why do you think the head coach made it such a challenging schedule when it's only the program's second year?
Yeah, that really was his goal, was to make it as challenging as possible. He's got a lot of young guys. He's got guys that are going to be with the program for another year or 2 or 3 years. So he wanted them to face that top talent. It's like Coach Powers of ASU has said before. He said we wouldn't be learning anything if we were playing easy teams all the time. We could go out and win, but that's not going to teach us anything. I think when you look at their schedule and you see that they've lost, 6-1 to number 3 Denver, and they lost 6-1 at Ohio State, you can say, well, they're losing games, but they're learning, and they take it with them, And again, I go back to the eye test thing. Like, when they come off of a hard loss like that against a good team, they seem like they've gotten better. They seem like when you watch them after they've played these really good teams, that they're taking away playing a 200-foot game, playing all 60 minutes like these good teams do. They're learning from it for sure.
And you talked about the overall improvements as a team in the eye test, and you can just see that they're moving the puck well. But has there been one player in particular who has really impressed you so far this season?
That's always a tough question for me to answer for this team, because it seems like there's not one superstar. It seems like they really spread the wealth around pretty good in terms of production. Maybe if you look at the goals leaders, certainly Robbie Balargian has scored for this team for sure, and gotten a really heavy load of the goals. But he's not like to compare it to the NHL. You get a guy like Alex Ovechkin of the Capitals, and you put all the defense on him. It's not really like that for the Sun Devils. I mean, you could block up Robbie Balargian and clog him up in the D zone, but then Wade Murphy can score. Tyler Busch can score. So from a scoring standpoint, I would say Robbie Balargian. But for I guess I would say who's the best player, it would definitely be, in my opinion, Brinson Pashnuk. He's a defenseman. He's a freshman. He's going to be with the program. You would assume at least for another 3 years. And so I think as he progresses and spends more time in college, he's only going to get better. And I think he's a guy that you can really get snuck up on.
Great, and you talked about those players as being really solid, but one player who's really shown a lot of improvement is definitely sophomore Anthony Croston. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen from him, especially as of late?
Yeah. We just did a story about him last night in the State Press about his increase in production. He started the season. He didn't have a letter on his jersey or anything, and then about 9 games in, he got promoted to alternate captain or assistant captain. And since then, he has taken off. I mean, he's been a tremendous player since then. Those first 9 games before he got his letter, he didn't have any goals, and he had 1 assist, and he was a -2. And since then, he's had 7 goals and 9 assists and a +7 rating. And his face-off percentage has gone up nearly 8%. So he's improved tremendously since then. He's playing with a ton of confidence. I talked to the coaching staff yesterday. They said, he just does everything the right way. He plays a 200-foot game. The captain of the Sun Devils, Dylan Holman, he loves Anthony Crofton. He says he just works so hard on and off the ice all the time and just does what he needs to do and leads by example, and I think he's doing that.
Great, and clearly some improvements from the team, but overall it is just their second year, so there has to be room for improvement somewhere. So where specifically do you see the most that the Sun Devils have been struggling this season?
I would say two areas in particular. One is their special teams. I think they can really get a lot more consistent there. I did a piece about that earlier in the season about how they were really struggling on special teams. They played Harvard in a 2-game series, and you look at the even strength scoring in that series, and it was pretty close, but the score ended up being pretty lopsided for Harvard because on special teams the Sun Devils were just getting beat. So that's an area I think they can improve. But the other thing I think they could improve on is just their consistency. Like I said, playing a 200-foot game and playing a 60-minute game. There have been times throughout the season where they've gotten behind and they've come back and won, but there are other times where they get behind and they look like maybe they're just, their confidence is shot or what. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in their heads, of course, but it seems to me like if they can play the best that they can play for a full 60 minutes and a full 200 feet across the ice, if they can get to the point where they're doing that consistently, I think they could compete with any team in the country.
And so when it comes to Quinnipiac hockey, you can really count on a very solid power play. They don't struggle too much on special teams, a lot of blocked shots, but similar to ASU, not one big superstar scorer, kind of spread the wealth. So what do you think Arizona State's game plan is going to be to pull off a big upset or compete with the national runner-ups this weekend?
Just probably try to take away those things that they've learned when they played, Ohio State or when they played Denver, when they played Penn State. You got to make sure that you go in there and you don't get beat. Coach Powers likes to tell the guys from time to time, hey, this is a team where if you slack off for a little bit, you're going to lose by a lot, and that's what we saw against Ohio State when the Sun Devils went to Columbus. They didn't play well for the first 10 minutes of the first game, and that was kind of all it took, and they ended up losing 6-1. So I think for them it's just going to be a matter of maybe not any specific technical game plan. I'm sure they have one. I guess I just couldn't really speak to it. But I guess from a strategy standpoint or from a locker room speech standpoint, I would say they've just got to really make sure that they keep their head up that entire 60 minutes, because if they slack off even for a moment, the game can get away from you.
Great insight, Matt. Thanks so much for coming on to chat with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So for updates during the Quinnipiac vs. Arizona State games on both Friday and Saturday, you can follow me on Twitter at Sierra Goodwill, and you can follow Matt at Matt J. Layman. Also head to Q30television.com post games for written and video recaps. Thanks so much for tuning in.